Hiya friends, this is Forgotten Comics episode 9. In today's episode we go through the lineage, the long history, the past, the story of the Phantom. Today we are mostly going through the real world, the extensive real world history of the Phantom, because in publishing, in comic books, it's mostly a family tree of sorts. It's a long and detailed and deep family tree. Starting off, we go back to the origins of the Phantom. The Phantom's creation predates the first Superman comic book by 2 whole years. Superman was published in June of 1938 in Action Comics number 1, while the Phantom got his start in newspapers in 1936. The Phantom Ghost Who Walks was published in a daily comic strip with a color strip on Sundays created by Lee Falk. Mr. Falk died in 1999, but his creation lives on in newspapers to this very day, being written now by Tony D. Powell and illustrated by Paul Ryan and Graham Nolan. The very first Phantom comic book was published in 1962 with Gold Key Comics, after many republished strips in the format of comic books. Finally, we have all new original stories in the format of comic books. The Phantom's origin is more of a modern myth or a legend than an actual set of events. However, in order to understand how we got here, we have to go all the way back there. The first Phantom was Christopher Walker Jr., the son of Christopher Walker. He became a shipboy on the ship of his father's in 1526. And when he was 20 years old, he went on the last of his father's voyages. Pirates attacked them from the fictional country of Bengala. He witnessed his father being murdered by the leader of the pirates before the ships exploded, and he found himself the sole survivor of the event. He washed ashore on Bengala Beach and was nursed back to health by the Pygmies. 1 year later, on this same beach, he returned, holding the skull of his dead father over his head while swearing an oath. "I swear to devote my life to the destruction of piracy, greed, cruelty, and injustice in all their forms. My sons and their sons shall follow me." This is known later as the Oath of the Skull. Because the Phantom would have generations after him take up the mantle and swear this oath, it would seem as though it were the same man, as though he could not die. Kind of a Batman type character. This is a superhero that has absolutely no powers or abilities. He's skilled, and he uses the intimidation of the legends surrounding his identity as a tactic for crime fighting. Contrary to Batman, he does carry 2 pistols and uses them regularly. Otherwise, he is an ordinary man. The Phantom had even at one time been portrayed by a daughter in the lineage, Julie Walker, to keep the legend of the Phantom alive. There have been 22 different people to take up the mantle of the Phantom since the original first declared the oath. The 22nd Phantom is Kit Walker Jr., son of Kit Walker. Apparently, it is a tradition with these descendants to name their son Kit. To take a deep dive into the dedication of preserving this fictitious legend, that's an adventure in and of itself, and I have spent the last 3 days preparing myself for this video to understand this character, to understand the history of this character. So that's not what I'm doing here. I'm not going to cover all of that because there are already videos doing that. You can see them all over YouTube. That's not what this is for. This is talking about what the character was and what it could be today. The last known published comic of the Phantom in comic book form was in 2014 through Herms Press in a 6-part miniseries format. This brought the Phantom back to the 1940s, putting him up against the Singh Brotherhood, the same brotherhood of pirates that took the life of the original Phantom's father and crewmates. I guess you could kind of pronounce that Sin, the Sin Brotherhood, but it's spelled with an H in there, so Sing. While the story of the Phantom is never really over, that is the true beauty of this character. He may no longer be a mainstream success, but the Phantom is the very embodiment of superheroes for the young or young at heart. The hero that we all want to succeed. The hero that we wish we could be. The legend that persists and evil's undoing. I think the very coolest place to take this character, to take this story, would be the far-off future. That's something I haven't seen done with this character. I've seen a sort of trying to do a modern interpretation of this character. I've seen a film of this character. There's been at least 2 films, one in 1999, I believe, and one that they tried to do on television on the Sci-Fi Network, and I forget what year that was. But none of it has been taking the Phantom somewhere it's never been before. And I think trying to do a sort of modern interpretation in the far-off future with, like, high-tech weaponry and gimmicks to make it feel more like he's an actual Phantom, or she, if it was a female, this would be a really fantastic way to go about telling the story of the Phantom again, or continuing the legend of the Phantom. It could be the future's interpretation of the past legend. Like, you know, as time goes on, the legend evolves and it grows and it changes with culture and history. As history changes, you know, keeps, well, making new history. New things happen, and we discover all sorts of new ways to look at things. So it could be that in the future, maybe Phantom 3000, it could be a brand new Phantom with brand new gimmicks to make it feel like it's an actual Phantom. And all the crooks could be afraid of it because they honestly could think it's an actual spirit. I mean, they could really play with their heads. Go all Scooby-Doo on them. This would be what I would love to see next in the legacy of the Phantom Mantle. Until then, these classic stories are enough to satisfy anyone's craving for some good old-fashioned heroics. A flashback to simpler times in the world of comic books. As always, friends, keep it unreal.